There's a big conversation on a lot of people's minds, when it comes to the car community. Guys asking the question, how much power is too much power? And it's a pretty easy answer for most people. Most people will tell you there's no such thing as too much power. But the truth is, that's a simple man's answer. That is the answer of a fool. Most often, it's a man who has never experienced true power. I was that man for a long time. I used to think that I wanted to make 1,000 horsepower with everything that I owned, you know. I wanted to make a pre-runner Bronco that had 1,000 horsepower, and I wanted to take it, and I wanted to jump it, and I wanted to just fucking compete with it and full send, just do everything. I wanted a Ford Mustang that I was going to supercharge, and I wanted to make like 700 horsepower with at least to the wheels. I wanted to make like 800 with my Golf R, which would have turned it into basically a drag car and nothing else. But that's the thing about all of these different builds, was that they basically, aside from like the trophy truck, um, honestly, at the end of the day, they all pretty much turned into the same thing. It was basically just some crazy high number, and it was only going to be good for one thing. It was going to be good for ripping down the highway. And I had a realization, basically. Something occurred to me, and I feel like it was a sobering realization. I basically realized that in the pursuit of making all of these cars better, really what I was doing was making them worse. For those of you that don't know, when you chase big power like that, a lot of times it's at the cost of reliability, is one thing that you have to be aware of. Another thing that you have to be aware of is exactly like I said, the fact that you're going to slowly, completely change the dynamic of the car. That's one of the reasons why people love cars like the Toyota GR86 or the Subaru BRZ, the Mazda Miata. It's not because they are fast cars. If you want something that's going to be fast in a straight line, then go to your local Ford, Dodge, or Chevy dealership and pick yourself up a Camaro, a Challenger, a Charger, or a Mustang. If all you want is the feeling like somebody is standing on your chest for a couple of seconds until you let off the throttle, then you're going to be more than happy. But 9 times out of 10, people get bored with that being their reality. Unless you've wanted a Mustang your entire life, then realistically, you're going to get bored with it. Unless it's a classic and you know that it's something you can sit on for the rest of your life, unless you know it's something your family's going to cherish the same way that you do. Some people just love those cars, and there's nothing wrong with that. I was one of those people for a really long time, and there's still part of me some days that thinks that that's exactly what I want in life, but there's a big part of me that thinks it's not. The reason that people love cars like the Toyota GR86 and the Subaru BRZ, the Mazda Miata, and a lot of the guys that are driving big horsepower cars are going to scoff when I say this, but it's because those cars are drivers' cars. They are poor man's Porsches. Those cars are all about driver connection. They're not about straight line performance. They're about how they feel being thrown into a corner. They're about how you can rip through a canyon, not just in a straight line. So I wanted to get a Toyota GR86 when I started to think that I didn't want to get a Mustang. I started to feel like maybe I wasn't a Mustang guy. Maybe I was more into the Toyota. And the thing about that realization is that as soon as I decided that that's what I wanted to get, I was like, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a supercharger and I'm going to supercharge it. And, well, there's a whole lot of issues with that. Okay, so first of all, once you start making more than around 100 horsepower over stock, you start to run into a lot of reliability issues with the GR86. And part of that is because of the Boxer engine. Most of that is because of the Boxer engine. Even though it's got the Toyota nameplate on it, it is mostly a Subaru, honestly, under the hood. And so, um, Subaru, they're really, really cool, but their engines, they're honestly just not the best at the end of the day. Not without a boatload of cash, let's just say that. So anyway, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get a GR86, and then I'm gonna supercharge it, and I'm gonna make like 100 more horsepower than stock, which is exactly the breaking point, basically, of where the car stops performing the way that they are supposed to perform, basically. And because people, they start chasing really big numbers, start making like twice the amount of horsepower that they made from the factory, and it just completely ruins what the car is supposed to be, basically. All that it is straight line performance, just like the Mustang, just like the Challenger, the Charger, the Camaro. I feel like I should say not as much with the Camaro or the Mustang. A lot of those cars are actually much better handling than the Mopar counterparts. But at the end of the day, they also lean very heavily into their muscle car, you know, DNA, roots, whatever you want to call it, even though they're not really true muscle cars at the end of the day, they're pony cars. But there's a whole nother video you can watch if you want to get into that. So the issue with making so much more power than what you did from the factory, than what you did stock, is that you completely change the dynamic of the car, no matter what that car is. Doesn't matter if you're talking about a Mustang or a Camaro or a Challenger or a Charger. Doesn't matter if you're talking about a Corvette or a Viper or a Supra or a GTR. If you have a GTR and you're making 2,000 horsepower, all that car is a drag car. And the realization that I came to is that all of these cars are honestly much better. They're more beautiful. They're what they're meant to be from the factory, basically. And you can enhance that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't make any more power than what they came with from the factory. What I'm saying is that if you stick with around stage one, or if you decide, you know what, I'm going to make a drag car, perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. Make 1,000 horsepower. That's great. But that's all that car is going to be. You're going to deal with reliability issues. It's very hard to daily 1,000 horsepower car. And unless you have the money to finance something like that, then it's only going to be even harder, and you're going to learn that the hard way. I'm promising you that. So, anyway, if you have a Supra and that Supra makes 389 ish horsepower from the factory, you can get stage one setups, you can tune that car, and you can make 489 horsepower. If you have the manual, you're going to have to send that computer out of country, basically, but you can make 100 more horsepower. You can bump it up to like 500 horsepower, and it still be not really fucked up, not changed from what it was from the factory. And I think that that's the sweet spot. I feel like that's what um, you should kind of stick with, basically. And I'm not saying that to inhibit anybody. I'm saying that because that's the realization that I came to for myself as well. I used to think that I wanted 1,000 horsepower Mustang and 1,000 horsepower Bronco and 1,000 horsepower Golf R, but I don't want any of those things anymore. I still want to push the Golf a little bit farther. I want to push it out to like 650 crank, not wheel. So like somewhere around 500 wheel horsepower. I want to get a Supra, and I want to push around 500 horsepower with that. I want to get a Bronco, and I want to be at around 500 horsepower with that. And pretty much everything that I want to build, I want to cap at around 500 horsepower, because I feel like that's honestly all that you need to have fun, to be able to floor it everywhere that you go, and to not kill yourself in the bank and to just destroy what the car is meant to be. So, anyway, that's my opinion, the long winded version. Hope you guys maybe got something out of it. I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Get out there and build something. Love you, bye.